Pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10-4-10, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising such notice in the Home News Tribune, the Asbury Park Press, the Board Office, the schools, and on Cablevision Channel 118 and Verizon Files 24, and by filing such notice with the Township Clerk. This meeting was scheduled for May 7, 2024. The Board of Education will present the budget to the public and accept comments on the 224-25 school budget. David?
The Old Bridge Township Board of Education acknowledges that the law of this state establishes that members of the public, including members of the board, have the right to record public board meetings using audio or video recording devices, provided the act of recording does not interfere with the business of this public board meeting. Therefore, the board makes it known that any such recording is to be considered the private recording of the individual and in no manner represents the official record of this board. The board therefore takes no responsibility for such private recording and completely disavows any future use.
Thank you, Mr. Waddell. Roll call.
D'Antuno,
Here.
Giordano,
Here.
Jodry,
Here.
Francisco,
Here.
Lent, Marquetta, Mazzone,
Here.
Slade,
Here.
Solikowski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Would everybody please stand for the pledge? Thank you. Mr. Waddell?
Okay. I want to welcome all in attendance and watching remotely to the public hearing presenting the 2024-2025 proposed budget for the Old Bridge Township Board of Education. The outline for tonight's hearing will be as follows: an opening statement from our Superintendent of Schools, David Cittadino, an introduction to our Board of Education members and current administrative team, a recap of student activities and district accomplishments in the 23-24 school year from Assistant Superintendents Dr. Hoker and Dr. Tui. Then Mr. Cittadino will review budget priorities for the 24-25 school year. I will report on district appropriations, revenues, and tax impact to our community. Mr. Cittadino will then provide a summary on the proposed 24-25 budget as currently presented. The administration and board members will be afforded the opportunity to offer any additional comments or closing remarks. And at the conclusion of the final administrative comment, we will then open the meeting for public comment. Now I move it to Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Cittadino, for his opening statement.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for those present here this evening. The Old Bridge School District faces in the 2024-2025 school year what is slated to be the final year of S2 legislation, school aid cuts. We're one of many districts facing these unfair and horrendous cuts in state aid based upon an obscure and broken district funding formula. The administration has been working tirelessly around the clock, actively advocating with the state to consider these funding shortcuts and to see their error in their ways as we monitor legislative activity for the last few months, attempting to limit the impact of this substantial deficit. I know that members of my team have met with legislators. We want to thank Senator Henry. He came to meet with us. I'm on a phone on a daily basis with members of my association who have ties within the legislative community, hearing updates about legislative proposals that just keep getting delayed. And we're waiting for this activity that we're promised will happen, but it's essential that it does. Because reducing a $12 million budget, reducing a deficit from $12 million in a budget will not come easy and without significant loss to the district. But here are the facts. Old Bridge is facing its final year as an S2 district. The S2 district state aid cuts are based upon a formula that is protected from public view and is based upon the following indicators. 1, student enrollment. However, our enrollment has been relatively flat since the 1990s. In 1992, we had just over 8,000 students in the district. We still have just over 8,000 students in the district. For 2017, we had 7,000 students and change in the district. We're now above that to 8,000. So as a district, we've relatively stayed between 8,000 to 9,500 students for the past 20 years. So it's not a lack of enrollment. We are in the same area that we have been since the 1990s. Home sale values, not assessed values, but home sale values. Doing our own research, we found that some of the assessments don't line up with the home sale values that are here in town. A house that is, the average house is assessed for $156,000 here in Old Bridge. That equates to a $350,000 to $450,000 home. A house that has a fair market value of $200,000, we're seeing assessed for $90,000. I spoke to someone with a house that is assessed just under $1 million, and fair market value is just under $1 million, but its assessment is $350,000. Taxes are based upon that number, not upon the fair market value, but on the assessment value. So the state of Trenton, not us, not the Board of Education, not your board members, see that as an issue and wants the district, us, to rectify that. The other thing they state is that the residential income has gone up over the past so many years since we've been an S2 district. And because everyone files income taxes, the state knows how much you make, Big Brother's always watching, and they say, as the income gone up and people have moved into the community making, and in some of the newer developments, making more income than previous residents, that the district, school district Board of Education, should somehow be able to tax a greater amount to equate to those additional home values and to equate to that higher income of its residents. But the problem is, this is the next part, that the district is limited to 2% in taxes. We can't go above it. Doesn't matter, how much more money residents make. Doesn't matter the increased fair market value of homes. The district can only get revenue of 2%. So while that's been going on, based upon those home values of the residents and the resident income, Trenton believes the district is underspending. That's the word they use. Doesn't mean we're underspending because we're not spending enough money. It means by underspending, they're saying we are not gaining from the local taxpayers enough money, and we are below adequacy by $20 million. They feel as though locally we should be contributing $20 million more to the school district than we are. But like I said, we're limited to 2%. As we have lost $22 million since state aid has been taken from us as an S2 district, or just about 48% of our state aid has been lost, we can only go to 2% a year. So if you're losing 48% over that time, and you can only gain 2% per year, you're never going to catch up to where the state feels you should meet for adequacy. And this is something legislation is hopefully looking at. They've had 7 years to do it. So what does this all mean? Trenton has created a problem they can't afford to ignore. Legislators and the DOE authorities have told districts to be patient as they address the problem they knew was coming. Year after year, S2 districts make cuts, and Trenton then later on issues equalization aid to fix the funding formula shortcomings. These actions are heartless to our educators, to our families, and to our children. Elected officials cannot claim to care for children and allow one child to suffer this cruel game every year, year after year. They take the money, and then after we look at our programs and we look at staff and make cuts, they give it back through equalization aid. Districts like Old Bridge had to submit a preliminary budget for county review that was balanced, but not particularly educationally sound. Some districts admitted that they would not be teaching middle school next year. No questions. Some districts wiped out junior and senior class courses. No questions. The county reviewed these documents but issued no red flags because changes are coming. Today, we continue to wait as legislation is pending for next week before the district budget is voted upon on May 14th. The budget tonight is not final. We believe that legislation that has been passed by Assembly and yet to be voted on by the Senate, is coming in the days that follow, as these board members here are asked to act in a manner that saves our school district from drastic and senseless state aid cuts, and that infringe upon our ability to deliver a thorough and efficient education as required by the Constitution of the state of New Jersey. And I heartfelt believe that every one of our board members cares about kids, and they will do what, even though they may not agree what's going on in Trenton, they will put our kids first and our students' schools first when given the opportunity. In closing, the budget proposed tonight is balanced, as required by law. However, it is still a work in progress as Trenton addresses its own issues, living up to the requirement that's in the state constitution. As information changes, we will keep you informed. Please continue to advocate for our schools by contacting Trenton elected officials. By May 14th, we hope there's an extension to this ridiculous process and measures are put in place that allow us to address this funding formula that sets up districts for failure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sedano.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sedano. So tonight we have our 24-25 budget presentation to the public. In attendance tonight are board members Margie Drodry, Jay Slade, Sal Giordano, Jen D'Antuno, President Matthew Solikowski, Christina Mazzone, and Elena Francisco. Not joining us tonight are Leonardo Marquetta and Elisa Lent. From the administration team, to my right is Mr. David Citadino, and to my left is Dr. Kathy Hoker and Dr. James Toohey, both assistant superintendents of the schools. I myself, David Wydell, school business administrator and board secretary. The next on our agenda is Dr. Hoker and Dr. Toohey will join together to begin a report on student activities, district goals, and accomplishments from the 23-24 school year.
I'm just going to walk you through some of the photos we see in the beginning. We have our Old Bridge students, and one of the things we really can recognize in our students, we give our students tremendous opportunities for self-expression, their social and emotional growth, as well as their academic growth. They're rewarded for their hard work, and they're encouraged to dig deeper and to push the extents of their knowledge and their ability to grow. Our Old Bridge High School students have an expansion of what we produce and develop within our elementary schools and our middle schools, fostered by great educators across the board in all of our schools. Our students are encouraged to expand beyond Old Bridge into the world. They visit foreign countries, they perform their civic responsibilities, and they test their knowledge in STEM. At the heart of all that, in creating a thorough and efficient education, is an opportunity for everyone to find their strength and their gifts. And we all believe that every child is gifted. It just depends on where their gift lies. And it's a job as a comprehensive school district that we're all been made proud of. We want to fight to keep, that we allow opportunities for students to grow in those areas. So in the arts, we see that our students are indoor percussion performing on countless platforms across the nation, and our band has even been to Hawaii to perform. We've seen our girls bowling team become champions, and this year our new women's wrestling team excelled as well as champions. We started a new esports team that has really grown for a lot of students that didn't find their niche in maybe the physical sports, but are now excelling in esports, finding camaraderie and support with peers also like them. This picture I can't see. Oh. Thank you. Oh, and the heart of all of this is our Team Old Bridge. Our, like I said before, our staff from preschool up to high school, from transportation to maintenance, and every student support area in there, including our Board of Education, truly believes in the spirit of our mission to provide every student the opportunity to grow and find their place. And this team, I can't be prouder to work with any other team. This year we started with our Ohana theme, and you see in the top right, fearlessly getting in the spirit. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm happy to be someone who's able to share with you district accomplishments for 2023-24. We conducted climate surveys with parents, staff, and students. We offered a series of 6 family academy nights. We are updating our district website to improve communication and calendar access, which will be ready in July. We've maintained recognition as national schools in a district of character. We have nationally and state recognized PTAs. We completed the learning labs and esports arenas at Old Bridge High School, Sauk, and Sandburg, and esports teams were established for all 3 seasons at each of these schools. We completed upgrades to the Old Bridge High School auditorium. We moved the maintenance headquarters to the EMS building and completed the McDivitt window replacements. We continued district participation in the Central Jersey Program for Recruitment of Diverse Educators, CJ Pride, and participated in multiple job fairs to reach diverse candidates. We broadcast employment opportunities through college career counselors and university education contacts and partnerships. We've provided professional development opportunities through the Old Bridge Professional Learning Academy throughout the summer and had over 900 seats filled. We increased Old Bridge OBPLA offerings throughout the year based on needs assessment and have over 50 available workshops. We retrained all of our school improvement panel teams, adding supports for new hires. We updated training for all mentors and increased the mentor pool. We standardized protocols for specialized trainings for required staff. We are providing training for specialized classroom staff for our upcoming school year, including cross-grade level articulation, IEP review, classroom resources and setup, behavioral supports, and resources. Restorative discipline, positive behavioral supports, trauma-informed practices training were provided for all administrators and all elementary staff. We have 5 instructional coaches that presented over 50 workshops impacting 800+ staff members. PD was provided during faculty meetings, in-service, department and grade level meetings, and PLCs. Our instructional coaches have met with a total of 557 staff through formal and informal coaching sessions throughout the district, providing an impact on 5,930 students. The NJCIE Technical Assistance Grants for middle school and high school implementation for improving inclusion and instruction was implemented. Comprehensive school mental health implementation for Old Bridge High School and Sandburg through a grant partnership with Rutgers and the New Jersey Department of Education. Mental health coordinators, K through 12, working with high-risk students to access community resources and school-wide programs. Mandatory suicide prevention training was provided to administrators and staff and will be completed April, June, and September of 2024. We partnered with the New Jersey Traumatic Loss Coalition, NJPSA, and Effective School Solutions to provide mental health and SEL professional resources for staff, students, and parents. HIB training for all administrators and anti-bullying specialists. OBPLA administrative offerings included AI, Clever, Canva, restorative practices, and positive behavioral supports. And we provided comprehensive guidance staff training for grades K through 8 in CBT, DBT, and social skills. A multi-tiered system of supports, supplemental education programs are offered grades K through 12 for struggling learners. The New Jersey High Impact Tutoring Program was offered at all 11 elementary schools. We implemented professional development opportunities, creative curriculum for all district preschool programs. There was a continuation of standardized data collection and graphing procedures in secondary ABA and MD programs. Developed new curriculum guides for ELA, math, social studies, science, and select CTE courses. Implemented multiple long-term curriculum resources, including Wonders ELA for kindergarten through grade 5, Study Sync ELA for grades 6 through 8, McGraw-Hill Social Studies Civics for grades 6 through 11, McGraw-Hill High School Mathematics, And I will turn it over to Dr. Tui to finish up the accomplishments.
Thank you, Dr. Hooker. Continuing with the academic accomplishments for the 23-24 school year, the Seal of Biliteracy was awarded to 43 12th grade students, recognizing biliteracy in Chinese, French, Spanish, German, Italian, as well as Albanian, Tagalog, Korean, Vietnamese, Arabic, Russian, and Portuguese. Old Bridge High School World Language Honor Society inducted over 50 students this year, encompassing all 5 world language, French, Mandarin, German, Spanish, and Italian. Old Bridge Middle School Junior World Language Honor Society inducted over 150 students in all 5 world languages. The Old Bridge World Ambassador Program Exchange Study Abroad programs for French and German exchange students studying in Nimes and Duesenberg, and also the China Study Abroad program. The Old Bridge High School French and German AP courses offered additional College Board Community Service credit hours, where students conducted beach cleanup, community beautification projects, student teaching student peer classes towards earning AP credits. The ELL Emergent and Select courses offered throughout the district integrated courses for middle school and high school students to ease transition into the mainstream English classes. Additionally, talking points and pocket translators were provided for e-translations for families and staff district-wide. On to music and instrumental band. The Old Bridge High School Indoor Percussion was promoted to the world-class division for the WGI World Champions at Dayton, Ohio, where only 26 high school teams in the nation compete at this level. Old Bridge High School Marching Knights had a special selection national performance in December of 2023 at the World War II parade and at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. New Jersey Select Regions Band, Old Bridge students were selected to perform in the New Jersey State Bands and Orchestra, were Dylan Voice and Stephen Frances. Old Bridge Township Cultural Arts Committee and Old Bridge Township Public Schools Art Department had a winter weekend showcase in collaboration between the Mayor's Office and schools to showcase and honor student artwork from K through 12. The district implemented Quaver interactive music platform through our kindergarten through grade 5 classes for full technology integration amongst our elementary schools. There was select elementary jazz music band and rock band at some of our elementary schools. And there was a music production advanced course that was established for this upcoming school year, a music production 2. It is offered in the progression of the Old Bridge High School course offering book and will be offered in September of 2024. On to athletics. In the fall athletics, boys soccer advanced to the state semifinal game. Girls soccer made the semifinals of the GMC tournament. Cheerleading had a white division game day champions. Girls cross country took 5th in the GMC championship. Girls tennis took 6th in the GMC championships. Girls volleyball were red division champs and conference champions. And field hockey were white division champions. 32 student athletes made all division and all conference team for fall season. In the winter, cheerleading won the Central Jersey Group 4 champion and co-ed varsity state championship. Wrestling, girls wrestling wins the GMC tournament for the first time in school history. Boys winter track was a 4x400 qualified the META champions and finished 15th in the state. Girls winter track placed 5th in the GMC relay championships. Girls bowling were division champions and Central Jersey Group 4 champions. 35 athletes made all division or all conference teams in the winter season, and Coach Teresa Fischetti was named Coach of the Year in the division or conference. And on to spring. Currently, girls lacrosse is first place in the red division and looking to be the #1 seed in the county tournament. Boys volleyball is currently undefeated and are looking to win, hopefully, their 5th New Jersey State Championship. Baseball is currently first place in the red division and looking to be #1 seed in the county tournament. And softball is currently in first place in the Central Group Division 4 for Old Bridge. Turn it over to Mr. Whitehill.
Thank you. I think these accomplishments through it all show our district comes together, perseveres, and achieves. Next, Mr. Cittadino will be discussing budget priorities for the 24-25 school year.
The first priority is something that, when I speak to the board members and community members, is something we all agree upon, that our students have to be in a safe learning environment and a healthy educational environment, and that is our greatest priority, to ensure the safety of our students and staff in our educational facilities. As a district, we aim to meet the educational, social, and emotional, and physical district's needs of all students. With this budget, we attempt to sustain as many successful programs as possible while continuing to deal with the S2 cuts, inflation, and rapidly increasing expenditures. We look to strengthen the introduced learning platforms for students while seeking and find additional platform partners that enhance the educational experience of all of our students. We will maintain a clinical and therapeutic support system for our students who are at risk. We continue to offer various levels of mental health supports for our students. We will preserve co-curricular clubs and organizations providing equitable opportunities for students to participate and engage outside the classroom. We will affirm our belief in professional development opportunities by offering continued support for our new and returning staff members.
Thank you. And now to the numbers. So our first slide is our allocation of 24-25 appropriations. On this slide, I have summarized the budget into 7 categories. Overall, the district is budgeting a negative 1.2% decrease in spending. This is a result of our estimated revenues simply being less than last year because revenues drive expenditures. In order to balance a budget, our revenues and expenditures must equal. Within this chart, you will see a tentative decrease to program costs and administrative costs. The employee benefits line represents 22.15% of the budget, containing many semi-fixed costs for items such as health, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, workers' compensation insurance, pension costs, payroll taxes, and other employee benefits. The projected increase is approximately 7.23%. The largest component within those costs is healthcare premiums. We are enrolled in the State Educators Health Plan, which are projection premium increases of anywhere from 12% up to 18% for the first half of the 2025 calendar year. Statutory changes to employee benefit contributions have continued to create a substantial burden of the increased costs to the district. Our increases to items within insurance coverage, such as workers' compensation, have increased drastically as a result of return to work experiences post-COVID now impacting the figure. The maintenance and operations line, which is 10.98% of the budget, contains costs for required maintenance, snow removal, custodial services, security, and energy costs. We are working hard to try to keep these costs as flat as possible, even though increasing mandates to necessary repairs and maintenance required come up throughout the year. The transportation line is about 9.31% of the budget, containing costs for salaries to operate our fleet of district-owned buses, contracted services, or outside vendors that provide daily busing for students. You will see a percentage change of 18.12%, which is to combat the increase of contractor routes, shortage of drivers from contractors, increasing fuel costs, maintenance and administration of the entire operation. This current year, the 23-24 school year, we have seen again a significant increase resulting in the need to transfer funds into the account throughout the year. This increase should cover up those continued shortfalls. The administrative cost line is 5.42% of the budget, containing the cost of staffing of the main offices of all schools, such as school principals and secretaries, superintendent's office, business office, and district-wide technology components. This initial number proposed is based on our balanced tentative budget submission. The tuition cost line is about 2.74% of the budget, containing costs for tuition of out-of-district private placements and tuition for students that attend vocational schools. The capital outlay line is about 1.47% of the budget, containing costs for facility upgrades and the SDA assessment for a past referendum. As Vice President Jen D'Antuono publicly shared a few meetings ago, what is important to remember here is that the funds for facility upgrades come from a separate bank account, aside from our general fund, and could only be used to fund facility projects. Here we have an overall pie chart just representing those percentages discussed. Next slide. The first line here is our program costs. It represents about, or actually go back one more, CJ, or two more rather. There we go. Our program costs. It represents about 47.94% of our district costs, or $76.3 million. There is a 8.94% decrease of overall costs principally due to the necessity of having to pull back some programs or reduce sections amongst 3 levels of schooling, elementary, middle, and high school. This breakdown of total cost is represented by a pie chart on the next slide. And now we'll go to the next slide to really break down those program costs. So program costs specifically include a plethora of items, which is detailed here. Program cost details: as an S2 district for the last 6 years, the Old Bridge community felt an impact of the loss in state aid early on. Those impacts were ultimately mitigated by COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent federal grant funding relief packages. In addition, remote learning provided less spending and our surplus to build. However, this year for 24-25, our reserves have been diminished, our surplus from prior expenditures have increased, and COVID grant funding is no longer available to us. As a result, with inflation and increased expenditure levels, the district is in a position with no choice but to decrease spending through cuts. The chart represented here, you'll realize decreases in various areas of spending. These program costs include items such as staffing, supplies, textbooks, software licenses, outsourced educational services, and supports. When looking at percentage change, it is important to review the context of the figures and compare the line relative to the total percentage of the program. After a recent review of the submitted tentative budget as it currently stands, the administration discussed that in order to continue to make our implementation of our educational programs as successful as possible, we felt it necessary to make revisions and changes within the district's administrative costs, specifically as it pertains to school administration. The school administration line, which was presented as a decrease by several positions, will be revised to continue to have administrators present at current levels to ensure safety, security, and support are prioritized in our secondary schools. Because of these revisions to secondary level administrators, we look to make additional changes which would impact the operations of district schools across all grade levels, including changes to other administrative costs, personnel, and other regular program costs, including health, nursing, and student services. On our capital outlay slide, this slide is a summary of the capital expenditures included in the 24-25 proposed budget. Repairs to the retaining wall in the back of Old Bridge High School, in conjunction with directive by the NJDEP, paving, masonry upgrades, and playground upgrades are all included in this number. The district will continue to look for and apply for as many facilities grants we could find, which are not represented by any figures within this presentation currently. The other items are state-mandated items. For our appropriations, let me just get to that slide. We have our unusual and notable items. The 24-25 budget includes significant projected increases in student transportation costs as we have experienced over the previous and current school year. Again, we're really trying to bring our current spending in line so that transfers don't have to be made from other areas to balance the budget. Projected increases of employee health premium costs in conjunction with our health benefit brokers is included. Projected increases in general liability and property package insurances stemming from prior year exposures and experiences. Projected increases in out-of-district tuition for students with a designated classification, and the shift of program funding for grants to the general fund in order to continue a level of mental health supports for students. All these are representative in our 24-25 budget. Now we'll get to our revenues. The first item you'll see is a state aid reduction of $2,528,261. This is an increase from last year where we only lost $8,076. The next line is our budgeted fund balance. Our budgeted fund balance is $5,361,093. Last year, and for comparison in 23-24, this number was $10,684,548. These reserves represented there are a result of prior year unbudgeted revenue received, unspent appropriations that exceeded an allowable 2% reserve of the district's annual expenditures. As you can see from the budgeted excess surplus figured, the district was behind the 8 ball by more than $4 million before we even started running numbers. stemming from 21-22 excess surplus. Essentially what that means in 21-22, because of the COVID pandemic, we had less spending, and we were able to use those funds back into the budget last year. Now, our return from school after our 22-23 audit, we really spent, because of the increased expenditures, to really the max that we could. So we only brought in, as that figure there, $146,167. That was our budgeted surplus, excess surplus from the 22-23 audit. So that number in last year's budget was over $4 million. So again, right away there's a $4 million difference of funds that we had to come up with. Next, we have our withdrawal from capital reserve of $1,984,545. That is, again, from our capital reserve, a separate account that we can only use for facility projects and SDA assessment. The next item is our maintenance reserve. So that item includes a $4,875 withdrawal from maintenance reserve. This effectively depletes our maintenance reserve. However, if we didn't use it, we'd be cutting an additional sum of money. For instance, if that was only $2 million that we were bringing into our budget, we'd have to find another $2 million to cut elsewhere. So we are using all our maintenance reserves. They'll be depleted. However, it's again in a way to try to prevent further cutting. General fund revenue. The first item on the general fund revenue page is called budgeted fund balance. When a district approves a budget, the budget is a tool to manage the district finances, and it contains numerous estimates of revenue and expenditures. If revenues received exceed the revenues budgeted, that excess revenue goes into fund balance. If actual expenses paid are less than expenses appropriated, that unspent appropriation goes into fund balance. The district may maintain 2% of the previous year's expenditures in the fund balance called unrestricted fund balance. Anything over that amount has to be transferred by board resolution in June of each year either to capital reserve, maintenance reserve, emergency reserve, or it is returned to the taxpayer in the form of taxpayer relief or budgeted fund balance, which is a revenue item in the subsequent year budget. So essentially, we're going through our 23-24 budget this year. Anything we don't spend this year is surplus. However, it doesn't help us for 24-25. You have to essentially wait 1 year after your audit to go into the 25-26 budget. The reserve withdrawal line represents withdrawals from the restricted reserve accounts to fund this year's projects. Again, capital and maintenance and emergency reserve. The local tax levy line is the assessment to local taxpayers, and this proposed budget contains a 2.97% increase, of which 2% mandated by state statute to not go above, and an additional 0.97% above the 2% as a result of health care premium costs increasing. However, according to the flawed state aid formula, the local taxpayer should be paying $140,380,738 as a local tax levy, which is $22.7 million higher than our proposed levy. The state aid line has decreased by 9.41%, or $2,528,261. The state has and will continue to drastically reduce our state aid for a foreseeable future unless a significant change is made to the funding formula. For 24-25, the state aid is approximately $24.3 million, which by comparison is the amount of the aid the district received in the early 1990s. For school funding reform, legislation known as S2 on paper is stated to be in its final year this year. But by definition, and because of the current formula, we really do not know what that means. As long as the formula calculates that we are receiving too much state aid and the local tax levy is too low, we should expect unpredictable state aid reductions to continue. The other state aid line is extraordinary aid received for special needs students. This aid is not guaranteed. However, state guidance recommends any S2 districts that are losing state aid, such as us, use this revenue line to cover a portion of the reduction in other state aid, if necessary. it is necessary in the 24-25 school year budget to keep this this figure in as revenue and keep it flat. If you overestimate that number and the numbers actually don't meet, now you're really overestimated and you have to find that revenue, which is not a guarantee. And the other revenue line that's on here is any other revenue that cannot be categorized in any of the above categories. Examples such as lease income, interest income, any fees from facility rentals, cell phone tower revenue, tuition revenue, and refunds from prior years. One of the items in here is the lease for Cheesequake School to the Sayreville Board of Education. Our next slide is our tax impact, the 24-25 tax rate calculation. This slide represents information necessary to calculate the tax rate and impact of the average homeowner. There are 3 points to discuss here. The ratables in the township have increased by $49,558,445 from last year. However, this number is less this year because utilities are no longer included in the ratable base as they were in years past. The local tax levy will increase by 2.97% to $117,644,041, accounting for the 2% tax levy increase and any available adjustments, such as the result of health care cost increases to support the proposed budget. Ultimately, this will cost the average homeowner with an assessed value at $156,542 to increase $113.67 per year, or equal to $9.47 per month. That's our tax impact for the 24-25 school year. Mr. Cittadino will now provide a final summary on the 24-25 school year budget.
Thank you. The proposed budget for the 24-25 school year aims to continue to support as many educational programs as possible despite the significant reductions of state aid compiled over 6 years under S2 legislation, overwhelming increases to expenditures, and inflation. Through these challenges, the proposed budget aims to continue supporting healthy living environments across all schools made possible by our staff. The proposed budget for the 2024-25 school year extends the useful life of current technologies used for student learning and achievement. The proposed budget of 24-25 provides funding to ensure all curriculum and resources are aligned with the state standards. The proposed budget of the 24-25 school year provides academic, social, and emotional support mechanisms for all students, regardless of their talents and abilities, throughout their various obtainable resources.
Thank you all. That is our presentation on the 24-25 school year budget. We'll open the floor here for closing comments from any administrator or the board, and upon that conclusion, we'll then open the meeting up for public comment as well. So, thank you.
Okay. Hearing of residents on any school issue item or the budget. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, board member comments. Any comments? Okay.
Oh, I'm sure we all have comments. The budget sucks, we all know that. But not because of our administration. We know, everyone said the state formula sucks, you know, we've asked for it. And, you know, whether we blame previous town councils, previous Board of Eds, myself included, for not fighting Trenton sooner, I don't know what the answer is. But the town council and the state are disagreeing on what we should pay as taxes. Do any of us want to pay more in taxes? No. But we don't want to see our school system go down the drain. Old Bridge is awesome. That's why we're all here, right? Old Bridge has the community that will fight any small town feel. So while the state disagrees with what we're charging for our taxes, the kids are held hostage. And that's what we're trying to keep the best we can with this, with the budget and with keeping the schools the best possible we can. So, Mr. Waddell, welcome to Old Bridge, your first month in, this is your budget. I I feel sorry for you. I thank the administration for the hard work that you guys have done on this. But talk to your neighbors. The vote for increasing state aid isn't until next week. Whether you have a child in the school or not, now is your time to contact them, because we all know the value of the school reflects your home value, right? So this isn't just parents only. This is the whole community. Talk to your neighbors. Now is your time to call Trenton, email Trenton, write your letters. So I really ask all of Old Bridge to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DiAntuono. Anybody else?
I know a lot of people have already written letters. We've gotten some responses back, but even if you have, please write and call again. This is desperate times, so please write, call, make your voices heard. And Jen is right; they're holding our kids hostage. So we don't want to see programs cut, staff cut, classes cut. So we really need to come together as a district to help save this.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. David, is it possible, I know we did it under the Finance Committee, could you break down for the public the worst-case scenario, what the tax increase would look like? Because I think there's a misconception that people think that their taxes are going to go up overall 10%, and there's a misconception as to what the Board of Ed takes on their portion.
Sure. Hold on one second.
I can give ballparks while you're looking at. So we looked at like the worst case scenario and middle scenarios. So we looked at if you're a $1 million home that we found assessed at $350,000 was basically the ballpark assessment for $1 million home. You were already going up 200 and change, because that was the mandatory 2%. We have to go up 2% as an S2 district. The additional would be $300. So on a person living in $1 million home with an assessed value of $360,000, your value would go up for the year would be $500. $200 of that is already mandatory, so it's an additional $300. You have it now, so you can keep going.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. So again, as Dave kind of talked and we saw on the slide, our tax impact slide was an average assessed home for 2024 is $156,542. At a 2% tax levy increase, that equates to $113.67 annually for a taxpayer. That's $9.47 per month. The legislation that's out there that'll be voted on later this week is Bill A 4161, I believe. What that essentially does is allows, if it passes, can allow a district who has been receiving decreases in state aid to go up, their tax levy will go up to 9.9%. Could go up to 9.9%. Additionally, if you do go above 2%, you'll get aid back from the state of New Jersey as well. They appropriated, they'll give 2/3 back state aid that you lost. So essentially the state is saying that, sure, we'll give you back some state aid, but only if it's on the onus of the taxpayer. You have to go above your 2%. So in some early calculations that we ran, we went kind of down the line from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 9.9, which is the highest. But as Jay has asked, worst case scenario. So at a 9.9%, that would bring an additional $9 million back to the district of just tax levy. Again, at 2%, you're increasing $113. At 9.9%, it's $305.98 at an average assessed home of $156,542. So the monthly increase at that average assessment is $25.50. Again, for that monthly increase, you're helping assist and bring back $9 million back to the district. In addition to 2/3 of the $2.5 million will be 1.67, 1,670, something along those lines. So we will effectively, if their legislation passes, and if the board then has a very tough decision, as Dave said in past meetings, it's the toughest year you'll probably ever have to be a board member, because if there is a vote and we can go up to 9.9%, again, you can effectively wipe out our $12 million deficit. But again,
So for the $25 tax increase, 9 is already included. So for $12, so 2 cups of Dunkin' Donuts coffee, you too can have a school district that doesn't have cuts. So again, none of us want tax increases, but we want the school system more. So.
I'd like to make a statement or at least clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, and for full transparency, because really that's honestly what's so important right now. The amount that you said, Mr. Wydell, of $305 for the year at a possible 9.9% increase, and the $25 per month, that is the portion of our taxes that the school district receives, which is approximately 58%, correct?
correct, that's just the
So,
school portion of
The
your
school
taxes.
portion, right, and we're talking about the school budget, so obviously that's completely relevant, but what's also relevant to every taxpayer is, well, hold on, I don't want to know exactly how my taxes are going up for just the school district, I want to know how they're going up altogether. So the number is essentially higher, I haven't done the math of the other 42%, but just for full transparency, it's a little bit more than that, am I correct?
Correct, this just pertains to your school portion of your taxes.
Just want to, just want to
Yep.
be clear.
I also have something to ask. I think what a lot of people want to know is, in worst case scenario, how does this affect the kids? What programs will be cut? What programs won't be cut? And I think that's what's scaring everyone. I'm sure everyone else has gotten emails. I have gotten emails of people asking certain programs. Is my child going to be affected by this? And I think that's what the parents want to know.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to do whatever we can at the board level and the administrative level to hold on to as many programs as we can. You have to bear with us. And hopefully we can get some help from Senator in Trenton right now. Anyone else?
And happy birthday, Marge.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday. Okay,
Thank you.
we'll open up to the public now. Now, this is pertaining to any school issue or the budget.
Good evening, Andrew Lewis, OBEA. Just to echo what Ms. Mazzone said, if you could describe for us the impact, what our schools will look like next year, if it's only a 2.97% increase, class size, programs, staff job losses, and then what that could look like if it was 5%, 9.9%. Give us a little bit of detail. The presentation was great. Thank you for the detailed presentation. Board members for their comments, but if we can just get a picture of what the school district might look like at some of the different levels next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Press the button and state your name.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jessica. Some of you saw my Facebook post asking people to come out because I feel it's so important that we do. I have 5 kids, 3 still in the system with years and years to go. I really feel like to get parents to write to the senators and legislators and representatives to pass these things, to increase the taxes, we need to know what the challenges we're going to face are. We need to know what's going to be cut. There's so many rumors out there, and people need to know what's really on the chopping block to be motivated to write these legislators and senators, because there's no motivation right now. I don't even know how many people knew about this meeting because nobody's talking about it, and it's so important to talk about. So I feel like we really need to know. I don't know if everyone else here agrees, but that's why I'm here tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I guess we're going to close the portion to the public. Do we have a executive session?
Mr. Solikowski,
Yes.
I feel as though I want to at least give some response to that. I
Go
can't
ahead.
I'm not going to go through like every step along the way as we looked at it, but I'll give you the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is if no legislation comes through, or the board the board rejects anything other than the mandatory 2.9%. You're looking at things as regressing back to half-day kindergarten. You're looking at the high school eliminating programs, anything that's not mandatory in programming. So that could be anything from what makes us a comprehensive high school, like your vocational arts, programs that are optional electives, any elective that's not mandatory, because at that point the state is just giving you what is the bare minimum to operate a school district. And it doesn't take into effect their third efficient that I talked about earlier. So it could be the elimination of programs, anything beyond what's mandatory in a school day. So you have to have 4 years of English, 4 years of physical education, 3 years of math, 1 year of a world language, and you'd get one elective in there. Basically, the school day for a high school student would end around 12:30 every day. That's how devastating it would be, and that's why we need legislation that makes sense and doesn't, as well said, hold schools and students hostage we don't have any control in it. The Board of Education at this point has no control in it. We don't decide, people's income. We don't decide their values of their homes. We just get the revenue based upon that. And the state is saying that there's a gap between what the values are and what we're allowed to get. And we can't operate outside of that. So it would be looking at a bare minimum for clubs and activities and sports. It could be just varsity at that point. The best case scenario still has some increased class size at the middle school level. I don't think it would be a substantial increase in class size. Probably classes ranging from 18 to maybe 25 students would be the best case scenario. Other things in there we're looking at is some of our student transportation that's not mandatory. I know a lot of districts over the years who have S2 districts, or districts that even have lots of funding, have removed optional transportation. So we'll still transport students to and from the game, all of that. But once they get back to the field house or to school, it would require parents or carpooling to get them from that point on. Anything beyond that is kind of a luxury transportation. And when we're in S2 district in year 7 and asking for more from the taxpayers, unfortunately that becomes a luxury we can't afford. So those are the worst case scenarios. Like, for me, I became superintendent in the superintendent's office the first year we had full day kindergarten, and it was probably one of the proudest days of my life that, we were moving into the modern world and educating our youngest children. And it's still unbelievable to me that in the state of New Jersey, kindergarten's not mandatory. I'll say it again, kindergarten's not mandatory in the state of New Jersey. Pre-K is mandatory to express certain needs, but kindergarten's not mandatory. And you've had districts talk about their budget, and districts in similar situations as us saying they're just going to eliminate kindergarten because, when the student's going to take a gap year or something. I don't know, but it's just ridiculous as to what they're so out of whack, this funding formula, that people who have never stepped in a classroom have developed and don't know the needs of the students. You look at, what has changed in the past since 1994 when we were funded this way. You didn't have school security that you have now, and no one here would think of not having police officers at our schools as you look at the incidences of violence that arise in schools. You didn't have counseling in schools. We had a part-time counselor shared between elementary schools. That's unforeseeable in 2024, where schools are not only an educational facility, we're a mental health facility, helping families deal with some of the struggles that they have. All of that has increased. Tiered interventions has all increased during that time. But unfortunately, all of those things could go away without the support of legislation and a very brave board.
Mr. Cedeno, thank you. I know that's probably one of the worst speeches that you've ever, as administrator, want to give. And I know as a town, that's probably one of the worst things that you want to hear. Our staff, we don't want to lose, I don't want people to go running, hearing it, but, just again, hope for that legislation to pass. Thank you for sharing the information.
Oh, the volume down, okay. Okay, we're gonna go into,
Matt?
adjournment.
Matt?
Good night, folks.
Wait.
Wait.
Go
ahead.
Could I just say something?
Yes, go ahead.
So I know this comes on the heels of not so great news or potentially not so great news, but I just wanted to mention that it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and as the school year comes to a close, there's 32 more wake-ups. I wanted to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude to all of our Old Bridge teachers for everything you do every single day. Your dedication, passion, and unwavering commitment to our students does not go unnoticed. I always say that teaching is the hardest job you can ever do and the best job you could ever do. I love visiting schools and classrooms in our district, and what I see in every school is teachers approaching their jobs with such grace and determination and never letting the distractions bring them down. Despite the challenges and obstacles you face, you continue to inspire, educate, and nurture the minds of our students. Teaching is not just about creating and delivering lesson plans, it's about understanding each student's unique needs, fostering a supportive learning environment, and constantly adapting to ensure that every child has the opportunity to succeed. I can attest firsthand to the countless hours of preparation, the emotional investment, and the sheer passion required to be a teacher. It's a role that demands so much more than the mere knowledge of a subject. It requires empathy, creativity, and an unwavering belief in the potential of every student. So as we reflect on another school year almost coming to a close, I want to remind you that your efforts do not go unnoticed. You are shaping the future of a generation, instilling values, and making a difference in the lives of your students who will be your kids forever. Your impact extends far beyond the classroom, and for that we are eternally grateful. Thank you for being the guiding light, the mentor, and the friend that our students need. Your dedication inspires all of us, and never forget to take pride in knowing that your influence will be felt for years to come.
Thank you, Ms. Jodry. Very well put. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Jodry, I'm going to do like a bridesmaids moment and one-up you. I'm glad somebody got the reference. Tomorrow's also Nurses Day, so we want to thank our school nurses. They're much more than Band-Aids and frozen paper towels these days. They do toileting, they do feeding tubes, and they do so much more to make sure our students feel safe within our school. So thank you to all of them. I do want to say that on the 7th, I'm inviting, the 14th. The 14th is next Tuesday. Inviting 2 special members of our transportation department to come join us. And I'll tell you a little brief story. I want to get clearances from everyone who's involved, but before this happens, it's a really heartwarming story and how it evolved. So 2 members of our transportation team who were just doing an incredible job, our transportation team, had dropped off a 3-year-old from our preschool program at home, handed that child to their parents. Parent took the child by the hand, went inside the house, and they went on their way to continue dropping off students. They went back out to an elementary school now to do the elementary run after the preschool run was done. While going back into the similar neighborhood, the same neighborhood they dropped off that 3-year-old at, they saw many blocks from that home, that 3-year-old now running by himself outside. They knew the child was in danger and would probably be harmed if they didn't do what their hearts told them to do, and they pulled over the bus and encouraged the child to get back on the school bus. When they brought the child back to the house was already surrounded by the police and detectives as they were partying together a search party to look for the child. And that bus driver and the aide was able to prevent the parent's worst nightmare. From what I'm told, the parents did everything they could, obviously, to ensure the child was, in the house. But kids are promiscuous. Kids are, they just want to get where they want to go because they want an adventure. So we're going to thank them personally. And I have a little bit of a surprise for them for next week, too, because I reached out to a business owner who's going to thank them as well. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Citadino. Okay, can I get a motion to go adjourn? What? Go ahead.
Jodry will move.
Ms. Owen will second.
You got it. Everyone?
All in favor?
All in favor? Thank you. Good night, folks. We'll see you next Tuesday.
and the Tuesday after that,